Good evening. Welcome back to another episode of Knockout Analysis, presented by Cronio Media. I am your host, Ethan Chronister. Co-host, Mr. Whit Barnes, whichever way he decides to be when the production is set. Well, UFC 324 is come and gone. What an absolute banger of a card. Tons of finishes. Main event delivered. My boy Patty suffered his first UFC defeat, but he did so in valiant fashion. He went down like a fucking man. And he's still a scouser. And he still don't get knocked out. That being said, Mr. Barnes, tell me your highlight and your low light of UFC 324, and then I'll do the same.
I mean, man, I think my low light's got to be pretty obvious here, Seeing the Baltic Gladiator get finished with 3 seconds left in the fight. It was very tough, but it's bittersweet because I think Nikita Krylov, the title run begins now. He is back. His chin is back. He has been chin maxing the last few months. He's been biting the weight and doing whatever this is. You see guys do that shit. He's been locking in. He's been chin maxing. My highlight of that card, man. I mean, that Justin Gaethje Pembla fight was an absolute banger. Even though it wasn't super competitive, it was an absolute fun fight and a joy to watch. Waldo Cortez Acosta, I really liked that fight too. I mean, it wasn't an entertaining fight, but Waldo showed he's the real deal. He made Derek Lewis look easy. And honestly, the most underrated moment of the night that I don't see a lot of people talking about. Nobody talks about it, lad. Alex Perez knocking out Charles Johnson, man, as predicted on Knockout Analysis.
Indeed. My highlight of the fight would be Patty proving to everyone there's not a single motherfucker he can't take a punch from, except probably Ilya, but we'll burn that bridge when he gets there. My low light would be Denzel Freeman, cut him from the UFC roster immediately. That being said, we're going to move right into UFC 325. We're going to keep it a $150 with you, as we like to do here on Knockout Analysis. These first four fights, we do not give a shit about. They are Road to the UFC fights. Neither of us have watched anything to do with the Road to the UFC. I've done some research on the fighters and done enough to pick a winner of the fights, so I'm going to go ahead and lead us through the first four fights in quick fire succession. Fight number one, we have Namsrai Batbayar from Mongolia facing off against Aaron Tao of Australia. Batbayar 9-1, Tao 11-1. I mean, Tao's only loss has come to Elijah Smith in the Contender Series. Elijah Smith is now 2-0 in the UFC. 11 wins and 8 finishes for Tao. 9 wins, all finishes for Batbayar. His only loss coming by submission. These guys are fighting for the championship in that version of Road to Glory or Road to UFC. Give me Aaron Tao to win that fight. I think he does it by knockout. Fight number two, we have Lawrence Lock-In Louis facing off against Sulin Grongbo. That's a 10-3 Grongbo facing off against a 7-1 Lock-In Louis. 4 finishes for Louis, 9-fight win streak for Sulin Grongbo. Give me Lawrence Louis to win here. He's from New Zealand, according to his UFC profile. I'll give him home field advantage here. I think it's a decision. Fight number 3 will be the Aussie Sebastian Cezable, or whatever the fuck. They just call him Seb. Facing off against Keiichiro Nakamura. 10-1 record for the Australian, 7-1 for the Asian man himself. 3 finishes for Seb. He's not the most exciting fighter in the world. I've watched a few of his highlights on some of his fights. Nothing to write home about, but I think he takes it home in his motherland here. So give me him to win that by a pretty boring decision, I think. And finally, fight number 4, we got Donmar Fan facing off against Song Yu Kim. 13-3 record for the Korean Kim. 8-2 record for the Aussie Fan. 4 finishes. Fun fact to note about Don Marfon is in a regional promotion. He's 0-2 against Gillian Salkild. Just thought you should know that tidbit. But Sung Yuk Kim, give me him to win that fight. I think he easily wins that fight via decision. So that'll move us directly into the first fight that we'll spend some time on. We have Con Olfley facing off against Yizha. This is on paper, and in my mind, and probably Witt's mind too, a very, very, very interesting matchup. I don't see why this match ever got made. I think this is a sanctioned execution. 1-2 record in the UFC for Con Olfley. He does have 8 finishes in his 12-4 record, and he did win his last fight via standing guillotine. However, he's facing off against the 26-5 Yizha, who is a road to the UFC champ, who does have 20 finishes in his 26 wins, 14 of which coming by submission. This is his second stint in the UFC, though, so he does have UFC experience. I think Yizha wins this fight, second round submission.
Yeah, I think Kron hit the nail on the head. Con Olfley, I mean, I just don't think he's really all that good.
He's awfully
From
bad.
top to bottom. I mean, he's awfully bad at MMA. No pun intended or pun intended, whatever. But road to UFC champion versus Ultimate Fighter runner up. You guys know how I feel about both of these shows. I truly think that it's just for unathletic, uninspiring dudes to get a shot at getting a UFC contract. And it's some reality show bullshit. And none of the fighters that come out of there are really all that good. At least not anymore in the Ultimate Fighter. Ultimate Fighters produce champions, but not in this day and age by far. And Con Olfley got knocked out by Myron Santos. He got decisioned by Naimov, man. And then Ricardo Ramos isn't even that good either. He has 1 win in like his last 6 fights. Yiza's going to go out there. He's going to have more experience. He's younger. And he's going to have the reach advantage as well and the grappling advantage. I think Con Olfley has power, but I think he's going to get blasted double-legged. I think he's going to get controlled for however long this fight lasts. I think after the first round he breaks, and I'm with Kron in this one. Second round sub. I think that's easy money right there.
That'll move us into
Especially
fight
at minus
number
180.
Yeah. That'll move us into fight number 6, where we have Jonathan Mikalev facing off against our GOAT, Oban Elliott. Very, very surprised to see the odds having Oban Elliott as a 110 underdog on this one. If I'm anybody, I'm smashing that line. Oban Elliott's 3-1 in the UFC. He's a multiple-time Performance of the Night winner. He did lose his last fight, so maybe that's an explanation for it, but he lost his last fight to a very, very good opponent that's going to win very, very many UFC fights. So I guess it's a little bit of Australian bias for Mikalev in this one. He is 1-0 in the UFC. He's a former Hex title holder, and he does have 5 finishes in his career. I think this is an easy bounce-back fight for Oban Elliott here. Give me him to win this fight. I'm going to give him a 30-27.
Yeah, Kron and I have talked about this fight before. For those who remember, this is a reschedule. This fight got pulled off the card like a few days before. I don't know who got injured. Don't really remember the details, but Kron and I have talked about this once before, and yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as I was the first time around. I think this is a great matchup. I think this is one of the best fights as far as young prospects in welterweight. You know, Jonathan Mikalev, his only loss is to Alden Bates, who has a win against Jack Della Maddalena, a sneaky Australian, or a sneaky guy that fights in Australian promotions and just beats future UFC champions. So I'm not going to put a lot of disrespect on it, but I'm just going to look at lines and value right here, man. Oban Elliott, yeah, he was a massive favorite in his last fight, but Seokyeon Ko has proven to be a pretty tough customer, even doing the same stuff he did against Oban to Phil Rowe recently. And Mikhailov, well, he was a massive underdog against Kevin Jusset. Kevin Jusset is absolutely cheeks. He has no boxing defense. Brian Battle landed like 100 significant headshots against him before he finally finished him. I mean, I'm going to go with the guy that is the underdog here, surprisingly. Oban Elliott at plus money. I just think it's a no-brainer. I think he is a more well-rounded fighter. He did what nobody has ever done to Basil Hafez. I put a lot of merit and value onto that victory. And I think Jonathan Mikhailov, well, he doesn't have all the experience in the world in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. He hasn't fought a guy at Seokyeon Ko's level. And I think Oban Elliott's a major step up in competition considering that Kevin Jusset is fighting in the PFL. Give me Oban by a people forget 29-28 decision in this one, and a very competitive fight.
That'll move us into the next one, where we have Jacob Malcon facing off against cage-hugging fraud Therese Finney. Jacob Malcon, I'm going to preface this by saying I hate this fight. They've handpicked somebody easy for Therese Finney to fight against. He has a 4-3 record in the UFC. He's got 3 finishes in his wins. And his wins, when I say his wins, I mean he has 8 wins and he has 3 finishes. So he has 5 decisions. So he's probably a volume striker facing off against Therese Finney, who has 8 finishes and 11 wins. Me and Wood have mentioned this before. He's the only fighter that we've ever seen to have 3 different wins on the Contender Series because he fights so fucking shittily and so boring that Dana White didn't sign him any of the 3 times. Fuck Therese Finney and everything he stands for. I got Jacob Malcon winning this fight. I want him to knock him out in the first round, but I'll take a decision here. This is going to be an elite level hate watch, and I love the fact that Therese Finney is an underdog. Give me Jacob Malcon.
Yeah, I don't think anybody likes Therese Finney. He's kind of a meme fighter. He came in as this inspirational story after his 3 Contender Series wins. A lot of fans were really confused to why he didn't get signed. It took him 3 times. But I think if you watched UFC Vegas 1 of 6, I think that was the number. I might be wrong. If you watched that card, first of all, it's one of the worst cards of all time. The Therese Finney fight was so bad. Every fight got booed. Every fight got booed after it. This man landed 4 significant strikes in 15 minutes of fight time and laid on Robert Valentin against the cage. Robert Valentin is not that good either. You had to lay against Robert Valentin on the cage, bro, and throw 4 significant strikes to beat him. And it was the judge that gave Valentin the 30-27 is based, and I have immense respect for him. Therese Finney,
Put him in the hall.
You look at, genuinely, bring that judge back. Like, you saw what Jailton Almeida did to Volkov. Some of y'all did. He just laid on him the whole entire fight, and he didn't throw any punches. Therese Finney does that to a Hall of Fame level. He wants to scare the hose, and he wants to put everybody to sleep, and not in a violent way either. Like, he's gonna make everybody fall asleep watching him. But the UFC, they're very devious with this one, right? Because he was initially supposed to fight Azamat Bakov a few months ago, but he pulled out because he knew he was gonna lose. So they decided to give him Jacob Malkoun, a guy who will anti-grapple this dude. Jacob Malkoun trains with Bobby Knuckles. He has elite level wrestling and grappling. He's not going to let Therese Finney disrespect him in his motherland, right? The UFC sent Therese Finney so they'd have to pay these 50% taxes. They said, you're fighting in Australia, bub, or you're out of here. You know, I'm making that up, but that's what I want to believe. I think Jacob Malkoun's going to use his empty grappling. His only real loss in the UFC is against All-In Allen and Phil Hawes. Shout out Phil Hawes. The Cody Brundage one, it was like an illegal strike situation in which Cody Brundage was getting finished, but he got hit with an illegal strike. in prime Cody Brundage fashion. More about Cody Brundage later. Give me Jacob Malkoun out here. I don't know if he's going to be able to get a finish due to the bitch ways of Torres Finney. And on top of that, this man can't be choked out. Give me Jacob by 29-28 decision. If this fight's anywhere near close, Malkoun's going to get it. And I think this fight will be anything exactly that. Torres Finney will land probably about 20 strikes. Jacob will outstrike him, and he will take the decision.
Well, that'll move us into fight number 8 on the card, which is Cam Rouston, the Battle Giraffe, facing off against Cody Brundage, previously mentioned. Cody Brundage houses a 5-6, 1-1 record in the UFC. He's a Muay Thai background fighter with 9 finishes in his 11 wins. Facing off against Cam Rouston, who also has a Dana White Contender Series alum, who is 1-1 in the Contender Series, with his one loss coming against the fraud we just mentioned. He did just have his UFC debut and had a first-round knockout victory. He has 13 wins and 12 finishes. Cam Rouston's a very entertaining fighter to watch. He's fighting in his motherland against, again, this is a very favorable matchup set up by the UFC. Cam Rouston by first-round knockout here, and I think it's not even debatable.
Yeah, I'm 100% with Kron on this one. Cody Brundage, former D2 wrestler. I mean, I think he's really just overstayed his welcome in the UFC due to very weird luck, you could say. You know, you look at the Razak Hassan fight, the Abdur Malik fight, in which he was punched to the back of the head or head-butted. Like, that Abdur Malik fight was overturned due to it. And obviously, we just spoke on the Jacob Malkoun incident. He's had fights in weird ways, and I think that's allowed him to stay in the UFC a little bit longer than somebody of his talents would. He's been here for quite some time, and every single time he faced somebody halfway decent, he gets pieced up and dominated. Right? You know, Trayshawn Gore, Dalkia, who I think is a light heavyweight, or was a light heavyweight, and Julian Marquez. The Zachary Reese fight was very gimmicky as well. It was a slam KO that honestly was... Zachary Reese is going to beat Cody Brundage 99 times out of 100. I mean, this guy just doesn't have great kickboxing. He doesn't have great MMA grappling. And if you look at his opponent here, Cam Rouston's a beast, right? Now, yes, he is a former Torres Finney victim, as Torres Finney laid on him for 15 minutes like a fraud. But he beat up Andre Petroski. He knocked him out in the first round. I think Andre Petroski is a rich man's Cody Brundage. Very favorable match, as Kron mentioned. Earlier in this week, Cam Rouston he was like a 260 favorite, man. If you caught that line, you're going to be a rich man this week because he's a minus 350, and I think there's even more room for that. I think he should be a 5-1 or 6-1 favorite. I think Rouston's going to go out there. He's going to put on for his city. He's going to put on for city kickboxing, and he's going to piece up and dominate Cody Brundage to a first-round defeat.
That'll move us into fight number 9 of the card, where we will see Junior Tafa with his 6-4 record facing off against Billy Alicana, 9-2 record. 2-4 record in the UFC for Junior Tafa. It has not been a good go at it. His brother Justin did not have a much better fare, but he has already been relinquished of his UFC roster spot via forcible decision. Billy Alicana 2-1 in the UFC. Junior Tafa went ahead and made the switch from heavyweight to light heavyweight. We mentioned this in his last fight. He does look healthier. He looks better. Like, he looks more fit to be at a 205 weight class instead of a heavyweight weight class. However, he lost to Tukatokas, who is no longer in the UFC. Everything about it says that Junior Tafa should lose this fight. He does have a 100% finish rate in his wins. If he wins, he does knock you out, or he may even have a submission. I think he might have one. Billy Elicana, he has 5 finishes and 9 wins. Only been finished once in his entire career. The line on this is in favor minus 250 to Billy Elicana. You could probably be rich if you wanted to off of that line. I say fuck that. Junior Taffa wins this fight by second round knockout in his mother lane.
Oh yeah. And I just checked because I didn't hear about it, but Tuco is still on the roster. Don't ask us how. We have to see him fight again, and I'm not ready for it. That's all I'm going to say about Tuco.
I was thinking of Lucas Brzezinski, another guy on your fraud list.
Massive fraud list, but unfortunately we don't get to speak on him anymore. Speaking of guys we don't get to speak on anymore, Parker Porter, Sean Sharaf. You know what those two guys have in common? They're the only guys in the UFC that have lost to Junior Taffa, right? He got heel hooked by Walter Walker. The first ever heel hook by Walter Walker in his motherland. The last time he was in Australia. Man, both of these guys fight the exact same way, Junior and Justin Taffa. I mean, I think it's almost like they're brothers. They're big, they're Australian, they have great power, they have zero grappling, zero jiu-jitsu, zero wrestling, zero takedown defense, zero ability to throw with volume. I mean, it's just, yes, they can go in there and have power and they can brawl, and that's really all they have. I think that Junior Taffa has one round to win this fight, and if he doesn't, then I think he's getting brutally submitted in the second round, maybe even the first. I mean, this guy's just no good. Like Billy Elicana, I've never been big on him. Honestly, I think this may be the first time I've ever picked Billy Elicana. Shout out to his last 2 wins, Kevin Christian, Ibo Aslan. Kevin Christian, man, he is a giraffe. He is a total giraffe who hasn't gotten any better since the Contender Series fight. I expect a crazy knockout or knockdown compilation by the time his career is over. The Bogdan Guskov loss was on 4 days' notice, and he took a round off Bogdan Guskov, even though everybody seems to do that. Billy has some skills. He does look a little small for the division, which may come into play considering Junior Taffa was a former heavyweight, but I think Billy has the lighter man skill. I think he has a massive, ridiculous grappling advantage. I think Junior Taffa would grapple the rest of his life and just do jiu-jitsu tournaments, and he would never be as good of a grappler as Billy Elicana. Give me Billy Elicana by sub. I think he could do it as fast as Kevin Christian. Kevin Christian was more of a club and sub, so we'll see. We'll see if Billy takes the same approach he did with Bogdan Guskov and just double legs him from the jump and goes for a sub from there. I have to pick around here, though, man. I'm going to say, give me a late in the first sub against Junior Taffa or Justin Taffa, whichever Taffa it may be. Give me Billy by first round sub.
That'll move us into fight number 10 on the card, which will house 10-1 Killian Saul Killed facing off against 18-8 Jamie Malarkey. I fear we may have another public execution on our hands. Killian Saul Killed is getting a break from the minorities that he keeps getting fed, and he is getting a fellow Australian. This may be considered a hate crime even more so because it's on someone of his own descent. Killian Saul Killed is on a 10-fight win streak. He is 3-0 in the UFC. He has 7 finishes and 10 wins, and he's a multiple-time belt holder in multiple different regional scenes. Jamie Malarkey, 13 finishes and 18 wins. He's 6-6 in the UFC, 2-3 in his last 5. Everything about this does not fare well for Mr. Malarkey here. I have a brutal feeling he will be finished, but I think it'll be round 2. I think Killian might try to go for another head kick KO here, and I think that's exactly what he'll get. Give me Killian by a second round head kick knockout.
Yeah, Kill and Sal Killed recently head kicked a man into oblivion whose parents owned a bakery. Just think about that. This man's ruthless. Did you also know that Kill and Sal Killed is part Pakistani? Something to consider here, man. This Jamie Malarkey's coming in here on short notice after Rongju backed out. That fight was going to be an absolute banger. Instead, we get to see Jamie Malarkey get face planted on the canvas in his motherland. I don't see any way Jamie Malarkey wins this fight. I don't see any way he can really do a whole lot of anything. He does not have the greatest chin ever. You know, Mauricio Rufy and parental bakery owner Nasrat Hakparast also finished him away. There's more. Muhammad Naimov and Jalen Turner all knocked him out. That's 4 of them right there. The Randolpho Bedoya fight wasn't really super impressive, or Rolando Bedoya, excuse me. He went 0-3 in the UFC, if I'm not mistaken. Or, yeah, 0-4 in the UFC before being cut. And he won that fight 29-28. He did what he needed to do. But I don't know, man. When you're beating the bottom of the barrel and then you have to go up against elite competition like Pakistani, Killian Saukilled, I just think it's a recipe for disaster, considering every single time this guy's faced any higher level of competition, he has been face planted on the canvas. I mean, I think he's going to get knocked out in the first round via a nasty, dirty, vulgar head kick. The crowd's going to go crazy. The Pakistanis are going to be deep in Australia, and they're going to be supporting their main man, Killen Saukilled.
That'll move us directly into the next one, where we will have fight number 11 on the card. Number 12 ranked Tai Tuivasa facing off against 15th ranked Taliesin Teixeira in a heavyweight clash. Bam Bam is finally back for you Australian shoey fans. He has lost his last 5 fights in order. Winless since 2022, somehow is still in the heavyweight rankings. That just really lets you know how bad the heavyweight rankings are. Teixeira 1-1 in the UFC, got absolutely starched in his last time out by Derek Lewis. He does have a 100% finish rate as well. If he wins, he's going to finish you. Whether I do think he has 2 submissions, I think did he submit the Tafa brother or did he knock him out? I can't remember. I think he knocked
He knocked him out with an elbow.
Yeah.
He
But
knocked him out with the elbow.
here's my deal with Teixeira. He reminds me a lot of how Deontay Wilder fights. Deontay Wilder's just going to throw hands with you. He doesn't defend himself. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't have good technique. He doesn't have any of that shit. He has raw, unbridled power. Deontay Wilder, 6'7". Taliesin Teixeira, 6'8". These guys are big as shit, and they're strong as shit, and that's exactly what they try to do, is just throw power at you with no technique, just brutal raw power. You face a guy that has any kind of boxing technique, like Derek Lewis, he's going to knock you out. We just saw it. Tai Tuivasa, I do not like Tai Tuivasa. I do not think he's a good fighter, but he has boxing technique. He can box. He could be a boxer if he wanted to. He has hands. That's not going to fare well for Taliesin Teixeira in this one. I think Tai Tuivasa will be able to find his range. I think he'll be able to dodge the wild overhands that Teixeira's throwing. Quick counter left hook, quick counter right hook, whichever is going to put the lights out for Taliesin Teixeira. I think this fight lasts less than a round, and I think Tai Tuivasa is going to come back with a bang here, knock a head off the canvas, get a first round KO of Taliesin Teixeira, then get himself a Pabst Blue Ribbon, put it in the side of the nastiest, sweatiest Australian shoe he can find, and he's going to choke that motherfucker.
I couldn't have said it better myself, man. I mean, Tai Tuivasa, yeah, he hasn't won since 2022. and he has 5 straight losses. Who are those losses, you may ask? Cyril Gahn, Sergey Pavlovich, Alexander Volkov, Marcin Tybura, and former Glory kickboxer, and I think now Dirty Boxing heavyweight champion Jairzinho Rosenstrike. And those are great names. Those are great fighters. That's some of the best in the heavyweight division. And even though he's taking these losses, he's not losing to any scrubs, right? Taliesin Teixeira begs the question, does he deserve his ranking? I went from this guy's a blue chip prospect to maybe he's a fraud very quickly. I understand that. But, you go back and you watch some film, the Arthur Lopes fight in the Contender Series. Huge favorite in that fight. And it was only 2 minutes. But you immediately saw the flaws in Taliesin Teixeira's boxing defense. He got hit with like a 4-piece combo whenever Arthur Lopes got inside of his range, got inside of his reach. And it didn't look good, especially early for him. And that's exactly what Derek Lewis did. He got inside of his reach and threw an overhand at him, sent him to the floor. And the ref had to call the fight. The stoppage was slightly controversial. I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I mean, he couldn't do what he did to get up. But the other thing that's the most concerning is this guy has 70 seconds of octagon time. One of them against the Taffa brother, one of them against Derek Lewis, and I don't know. Tai Tuivasa, as fat as he got last year, has trained for 5-round fights. He has went the full 15 many times. Taliesin Teixeira, I think, he's never went the full 15. He's never even made it 5 minutes in any sort of octagon or cage. I think that's going to be a recipe for disaster, especially if this makes it out of the first round. I think Tai Tuivasa is going to be ready. Because a lot of people, they say, well, Tai Tuivasa isn't really married to the game, right? He took a year off, he was drinking beer, and he wasn't really training. I don't think I question Taliesin Teixeira's work ethic, right? Because people forget. Last year, it was Tetsuro Taira and Amir Albazi were supposed to fight each other in a main event. That gets canceled, and ultimately, Tetsuro Taira got an Asian jobber and submitted him. Taliesin Teixeira was called to fight Waldo Cortez Acosta. He dodged a bullet. And it was said that Taliesin Teixeira hadn't been in the gym for over 2 months, and he could not fight. Doesn't sound like he's that married to the game either, if you ask me. I think Tuivasa is going to be able to find his range at one point in the fight. I think he's going to be able to get inside the reach. And you can't really play games when he does that, because Tai Tuivasa, if he has nothing at all, he has one thing, and it's knockout power. Give me Tai Tuivasa with a nasty right hook to faceplant Taliesin Teixeira in the octagon. And as Kron said, find the most grisly, mold-covered, disease-festered shoe and drink a PBR out of it.
That'll move us right into the next one. We have fight number 12 on the card. 9th-ranked Rafael Fiziev facing off against 14th-ranked Mauricio One-Shot Rufy. I'm going to be honest, the notes that I have here on Rafael Fiziev, 3 bullet points. 2-3 in his last 5, 7-4 in the UFC, and he's Justin Gaethje's son. Mauricio Rufy, fighting nerd, 3-1 in the UFC, but was incredibly exploited on the ground by Benoit Saint-Denis in his last fight. Mind you, this was a friendly place for Benoit Saint-Denis. He was fighting in his motherland. Maybe something took over him, because that was a different BSD than we've ever seen before. However, I question Rafael Fiziev's level of attention to the game anymore. He did, but correct me if I'm wrong, he fought late last year, right? I think.
Ignacio Bahamondes.
Yeah. I don't recall off the top of my head which, I think it was one of the Qatar cards or something like that.
Azerbaijan, his motherland.
Azerbaijan. Yeah. That one was a long time ago. I'd have to go back and revisit that card. But I'm not completely off the Mauricio Huffy fight train or hype train. He's still a fighting nerd, still one of the best gyms that you can be in right now. He's still 3-1 in the UFC, and he did knock out Bobby Green, which I'm always a fan of. I think that Mauricio Huffy can win this fight. I think he's going to look to prove something because he's probably heard a lot of the noise people talking about he has no ground game because he got submitted by a striker. I think he looks for a submission here. I don't think he gets it, but I think he controls this fight, and I think he wins it by a 29-28 decision.
Yeah, man. I mean, this fight has been really back and forth in my mind this whole entire week. You know, the Mateus Gamrot fight was an ACL tear, wasn't a real KO. The only time this guy's been KO'd in MMA was against Mustafayev with a spinning kick, and nobody's been able to do it since. You know, a lot of people gave him shit for Justin Gaethje. Both of those losses, you lost to an old man, but he's an interim champ now, so what are they going to say about it? I mean, he went out there against Ignacio Bahamondes, his motherland, a fight a lot of people thought he was going to lose. And he showed Ignacio that this isn't Nacho Libre, motherfucker. That's what he did. He went out there, he dominated him for 15 minutes. Bahamondes started throwing many spinning kicks to no avail as Rafael Fiziev was hitting his trademark Matrix dodge. And Mauricio Huffy, man, another fighter that I've kind of done a 180 on. And I will say, Kron mentioned the fighting nerds. I have heard some rumors that he now trains with Alexander Volkanovski, potentially on the city kickboxing team now. John Silva has unfollowed him on Instagram. There might be some drama there within the fighting nerds camp, as he may no longer be there. It's rumors, it's speculation. It may be a meme. Not something I've looked into too much, but it's something to keep an eye on for certain over these next few weeks and months to find out the real truth. But Mauricio has been training with Volk, and I think he's really ready for this fight. I think he's going to be working on the grappling with Volk, especially. That could do a whole lot for him, because he's going to need it as he's moving up the rankings here. But dude, Mauricio Ruffy, like his striking style, his pad work is mythical, you could say. Some of the best pad work you could possibly ever see. But dude, it doesn't really translate always. And I've been not wanting to talk about this since the Bobby Green fight, but Llamas on top, bro. The fattest 160-pound man I've ever seen. Took a round off Mauricio Ruffy. And I just can't get it out of my head. That fight was sloppy. It was nasty. Yeah, Mauricio had some cool moments. He knocked down Llamas a few times, and it was nice, but you can't let Llamas Yontop take a round off you, especially since he's never won a fight in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and you were such a big favorite. I mean, it's disgusting. I don't think Mauricio is going to be able to throw enough volume. I expect the body kick to be in play for Rafael Fiziev quite a bit here. I think it could deeply affect the cardio of Mauricio Huffy, who does fade as the fights get a little bit later. Man, this is gonna be like a 29-28 fight, or Mauricio's gonna get a knockout. I don't really think Fiziev's gonna be able to knock out Mauricio. Give me Fiziev by decision. I think the odds are very accurate. I think this is a pretty even fight, with Fiziev having the volume advantage that could get him the decision, or Huffy having the power and shot selection to get him the finish. But I think it's way more likely that Fiziev goes and gets a decision 29-28.
That'll bring us into the next fight, the co-main event of the evening, where we will see Dan the Hangman Hooker facing off against Benoit the God of War Saint Denis. This is going to be a very, very interesting matchup. Dan Hooker comes in with a 14-9 UFC record, 3-2 in his last five. Submitted in his last fight via Arman Sarukian. Facing off against, well, with his number 6 ranking. Number 8, Benoit Saint Denis, 8-3 in the UFC. He's only been finished once in the UFC, and it was by Dustin Poirier. 3-fight win streak. Impressive submission win over Ruffy in the last fight, and then followed that up with a 16-second knockout of Beneil Dariush. So, I mean, the momentum's incredibly high with him right now. I'm going to say some things right now that some Australian MMA fans aren't going to like. As much as I just talked about Taliesin Teixeira and his lack of boxing defense, I think we really got to talk about Dan Hooker in the same conversation. Because, yeah, Dan Hooker's got a chin made of granite. But the whole point of striking and striking defense is to not take the shots. If you just open your hands up and let people punch you in the fucking chin all fight, no wonder you have 9 losses in the UFC, because you're going to get out volumed and you're going to lose on the scorecards because you're taking shots off the chin and you're not throwing enough back to get them. The Dustin Poirier fight, a Hall of Fame level fight. That fight's forever going to go down in history. It's one of the coolest fights you could ever see. It was a COVID fight. You could hear the gloves hitting off of the skin. It was an incredible fight. Took so many unnecessary shots in the first couple of rounds that destroyed his gas tank for the rest of the fight and made it to where it was impossible for him to come back and get the decision victory. I question Dan Hooker's fight IQ. I think I don't really have to question it that much. He has 13 losses and 24 wins. He gets decision losses quite often. The Sarukian fight I don't hold against him. He was fighting someone that's way above his class, his skill level. Sarukian's miles above lots of people in the UFC. Dan Hooker's getting older. Sarukian's young and upcoming. It wasn't even a fair fight. Sarukian was just looking for anyone he could fight, and Dan Hooker couldn't find a fight, so he said, fuck it, we'll try it. Didn't really have a vintage Dan Hooker performance with the striking in that one. Didn't really make Sarukian respect him at all. Sarukian just marched him down, got him on the ground where he wanted to, and submitted him. Very easy win for Sarukian. Probably could have fought twice again that night because he took so little damage. Benoit Saint Denis, unfortunately, I fear his momentum is riding too high, and Dan Hooker's fight IQ is getting lower, and his defense is getting worse. I don't see Dan Hooker having any chance of winning this fight. I think Benoit Saint Denis is going to knock him out. I think he will. It's going to be a late one. Give me around 3 TKO for Benoit Saint Denis here.
Yeah, man, I mean, this guy Benoit Saint Denis, I don't really know how he does it, but he continues to win. He continues to do it. I'm going to start out by saying he should never be a minus 350 favorite against anybody, ever. Never, especially anybody in the top 10. I mean, he was a massive favorite against Kyle Prepelic, but it's Kyle Prepelic. Come on now, Kyle Prepelic's. Yeah, I don't even need to talk about Kyle Prepelic. I'm sure we'll see him on the next Canada card. Benoit Saint Denis, man, he got the bye against Kyle Prepelic. Woo, good for you. It took you 7.5 minutes to get him subbed. Mauricio Huffy. Disappointing performance from Mauricio. Benoit just made it. It looked like he was in a different weight class in that fight. And the Beneil Dariush, man, I mean, dude, 16-second clinch uppercut knockout, dude. It was like some Nico Price, Robbie Lawler-esque shit. It looked like he took a dive, like a complete fluke. I mean, I can't put a lot of stock into it because I didn't see a whole lot out of that fight. And it was just, I don't know. It felt fluky to me in my heart of hearts. And I just really question his last 3 wins, especially Kyle Prepelic. This guy, he punches like a heavyweight. Like, not like in a power way, but like, he's just slow. And yes, his grappling's really good, and there's this narrative going around on the internet that Dan Hooker is a terrible grappler. Sure, whatever. Let's look at it. Let's look at the facts right here, all right? Dan Hooker hasn't been submitted. Well, he's been submitted twice in the UFC. I don't care about the 2 times he was submitted in the regional scene half of my life ago in 2012, dog. I don't care. He got submitted by Arman Sarukian most recently and Islam Makhachev. Yeah, the 2 best lightweights on planet Earth, besides maybe Elliot Taporia. The 2 best grapplers at 155, there we go, on planet Earth. Mateus Gamrot, a guy that predominantly grapples in his fights. Beat him. Jalen Turner, very good grappler. Beat him. Claudio Puelles, very good grappler again. Knocked him out in the second round. I don't think Benoit Saint Denis is going to go out there and submit him. That's been a lot of people's takes, and I see where they're going with it. But Dan Hooker's just not going to go in there and get arm triangle submitted or rear naked choked or disrespected. He's going to go out there and go to absolute war. I expect this to be a banger that I don't think there will be a finish in, unless Benoit Saint Denis takes the beating that he had against Renato Moicano. Dan Hooker at plus 260 in his motherland. We've seen this movie before. He was around a plus 260 against Mateus Gamrot, and he went out there and got the win. I think he's in for a repeat performance. I would never bet against Dan Hooker as an underdog in his motherland. Give me 29-28 Dan Hooker in an absolute heater, and I think he has all the potential to be the fight of the night.
Everybody meet Minka. This is my cat, Minka. He's here to tell you that we're moving right along into the fight number 14, the title fight of the event, where we will have the champion, Alexander Volkanovski, facing off against the second-ranked contender, Diego Lopes. This is their second meeting. 14-3 record in the UFC for Mr. Volkanovski, and like I said, previous matchup victory via unanimous decision against Diego Lopes. It wasn't a super competitive fight. It was fairly entertaining. I mean, Diego got some good shots in. I believe he even knocked him down once or twice in the fight. Diego, very good fighter. There's no doubt about it. That being said, his competition, Mr. Volkanovski, his only 3 UFC losses have been to Makhachev and Ilya Taporia. He's a 2-time UFC champion and a unified title holder.
So I have received word that Kron's Wi-Fi has went defunct on him. There's a storm in the northeast part of the country right now, so he's not going to be able to finish the episode. I believe Kron was going to pick Diego Lopes, and I think he does have a slightly good point on it, because Diego Lopes does have the finishing advantage on the feet, but at the same time, we watched him fight last year. I've been kind of vocal, at least around my peers, about how much I hate this matchup. Because if Diego Lopes goes out there and beats Volkanovski, I mean, it's not a good win for Volk at this point. It does nothing for his legacy to beat Diego Lopes twice. Because if Diego Lopes loses this fight, he's probably never going to be champion. But Diego Lopes, yes, does have the knockout advantage. He does have the power advantage. Volk's chin isn't all that there. And Diego Lopes, well, he has a titanium chin, as we saw in the John Silva fight, when he took all the front kicks to the face and the overhands. But Diego Lopes, man, I just don't think he's going to be able to do it, man. You look at the Sean O'Malley-Merab fight, a lot of people were saying the same things, that Sean O'Malley was going to have a power advantage, and can Merab possibly avoid him for 25 straight minutes? And that fight didn't even go the full 25. I think Volk's going to do it in even more dominant fashion this time. He's rematched fighters before and dominated him the next time around. You know, you look at the Max Holloway trilogy as a great example of that. Even the second fight was slightly controversial. Man, give me Volk by another 49-46 decision. That's where I'm leaning. I just don't see how he loses. He's the much more skilled. Well, I see how he could lose, but I think he's a much more skilled fighter. He's good at managing distance. He is the better grappler on all levels. And I think this was going to be another dominant performance. I understand the line. Minus 140 is fair, especially considering the finishing potential of Diego Lopes and the chin of Volkanovski. But I think Volk's just too good. He's too skilled. He is one of the greatest featherweights ever, if not the greatest featherweight ever, which I believe. And he's only lost to Mount Rushmore level guys. I don't think Diego Lopes is a Mount Rushmore level guy. And I think that this is a win for Volkanovski, but in hindsight, it's not going to do a whole lot for his legacy. And people are going to be like, damn, why did they fight back to back? Which is a question that a lot of people will answer with an, I don't fucking know. So, give me Volk, 49-46 decision. He gets the winner of Lerone Murphy and Movsar Evloev, or maybe somebody else if he wants to fight center. We'll see. But I like Volk on this one. And that's all we're really going to have for you on this episode of Knockout Analysis. Don't forget to like, subscribe, watch out for the deer, keep your stick on the ice. This video will be up on Friday morning, I believe, and we'll be back next week for Mario Batista versus Vinicius Lockdog Oliveira.